Well, hello again. Good to see you once again. A few weeks back, in fact, quite a few weeks back, I introduced you to the ANZ Ratings system for horse racing and harness racing, and the ANZ Bot, and how the two can work together to help you find strategies, research strategies, and then put them in the bot and have the bot actually do the work of finding, then actually finding those in each race and placing the bets accordingly. So it's probably time to give you an update on that. In fact, it's a good time to give you an update because in the last week there's been some rather spectacular results. So I wanted to show you some of that. There's a couple strategies in particular that have worked very well in the last couple of weeks. Sorry, in the last week. Beyond that, there's quite a few strategies I've been working with. Some have been doing quite well. There's a couple that seem to not like winter racing, so I'll take you through that a little bit later on and show you some of those strategies. Now, if you did miss some of those earlier videos, I'll put some links below so that you can see that, and they'll give you a bit of a background on the bot and on the analyzer and on the rating system and how those all work together. But for the moment, let's have a look at some of the really good results that have come up in the last week or so. We'll go back to Wednesday and Warwick Farm Race 2. This was looking at a strategy I have running on high odds in short races.
Our Little Star strode a length and a half in front of Alpine Ski. Silmarillion appears to have some cover now third. The outside of Qatar's Choice getting a nice run into it. Then Tanini. They turn the bend now. 350 metres to go. Our Little Star led by one Alpine Ski. Qatar's Choice into the clear. Silmarillion just a little wider out on the track, starting to run on boldly. 150 to go. It's Alpine Ski, Silmarillion. Qatar's Choice back behind them. Iron Hawk later. 75 to go. Four abreast here. Iron Hawk up the inside. Iron Hawk's going to cause an upset here. The Hawk swoops and wins from Silmarillion. Qatar's Choice, Alpine Ski, and a photo for third and fourth. Then came Our Little Star, Eurofiki, Forever Fortune, and last in was Tanini.
So significant result there, paying $75 on Betfair. You can see the totes there certainly had some lower numbers. In fact, SuperTab, almost wonder if someone was following the system and betting those on SuperTab, because that's significantly lower there at $19.60 compared to the $30 and $40-ish of the others. But this is something I do see quite a bit with Betfair, especially at the higher prices, is that Betfair pays significantly higher than some of the totes and the corporate bookmakers in a lot of cases, especially when you're looking at those higher odds. Now, with $10.66 placed on that one, it ended up winning, as you can see, $788. Minus Betfair commission, and it's a little bit less. Nonetheless, take away a couple other results from the day, because that was the only winner that strategy picked in the day, which isn't unusual. In fact, you'd kind of expect it to not really pick more than one, maybe two if you're lucky, winners in a day. And if we have a look at the spreadsheet, it does go a number of days without a winner, but when it does win, it makes a profit. Now, in the end, that day ended up being $593.76 up, which then, for that series, from the last time it was in profit for the series, $391.38. Now, I'll take you through my stake escalation system a little bit later, what I'm doing with this, but that works quite nicely. So, certainly a good result there, and that brings the system into some very positive territory, up $402 over the course of a month or so, which is very nice indeed. So another system which has worked quite well over the last couple of days, yesterday in particular with the Saturday races, is a system looking at runners which have run a place in their last starts, at first, second or third. I don't mind if they ran third in a race that didn't have a third place dividend, as long as they ran in the top three in their last race. Also looking for them to have a jockey-trainer combination with a very good strike rate at the track, and for them to be paying $5 or more. Quite a few good results there yesterday. Let's start with race 3 at Flemington.
And Divine Purpose last as they come around the bend. Well, Belarus allowed to stride and has taken over on straightening for the judge. Belarus from Just Do It in her stride now tucked away, followed by Alpine Flyer. Now Cindy Falls trying to get clear. It's trying to angle away from the back of Just Do It, and then Street Delight making ground down the outside. So Just Do It moving up to Belarus, and then Street Delight. Cindy Falls trying to squeeze through. Alpine Flyer is there. It's Just Do It just in front, trying to extend. Street Delight's coming after it, but it's Just Do It. Just Do It holding Street Delight. Just Do It won it by a neck on Street Delight, and 2 lengths Alpine Flyer, Belarus, and from the back Divine Purpose. They're followed by Cindy Falls. It had to be Zoo, and in her strides clocked in.
Once again, quite a differential between Betfair and the totes and bookmakers. Betfair up at about $16.50 and the totes down at $12 or thereabouts. So certainly a bit of an advantage there in Betfair. Another really good race there was race 8 at Flemington.
And then Windstorm and 2 lengths to Sir Davy as they come around the quarter, just over 500 to run. So Estero about to square up the judge from Gentleman Roy getting closer. They've still got 3 lengths on the rest of the field. Reinberg been ridden along, and then Sir Lawrence, Greenfly trying to get through the pack. Devoted's making ground, and then comes Windstorm with about 300 to go. Gentleman Roy moves up now to Estero, but the challengers are coming down the outside. Gentleman Roy found the front, 200 to go. Devoted trying hard from St. Lawrence. It's Gentleman Roy though, 50 metres to go. Trying hard, Devoted getting closer, but Gentleman Roy will see it through. Won it by a head. Devoted got second. Through the middle, Reinberg third. Then came St. Lawrence, Greenfly, and Holy Man's. In behind Windstorm, Estero, and then came Sir Davy and Shopping.
Very good result there, and you can see again that differential in price. Betfair up at $15, and the totes and probably the corporate bookmakers a fair bit lower, 11s, 12s, even 10.70 over on Super Tabs. So certainly a good result on Betfair, and I do tend to see that among the even some of the ones that aren't super high prices, that Betfair tends to pay more, even with the favourites sometimes. Maybe not a huge difference there, but the favourites also tend to pay a higher price on Betfair, and that is something where the ANZ Analyser, I think, really comes into its own. Is, let's say you have a strategy that works for you reasonably well with the tab or the bookmakers, or maybe it only just breaks even, maybe it's just slightly in the negative. If you take that same system into Betfair, there's a good chance that it will actually be turning a profit. And if you have a strategy that works for you, based on various form statistics and that sort of thing, you can probably put that into the spreadsheet, into the Analyser spreadsheet, have a look at it, take those settings into the bot, and have the bot place the bets for you. And then, well, you're cutting out a lot of your work in having to try and find those winners. The bot's doing it for you, and you're making more of a profit than you would have if you'd placed them manually with the tab or the corporate bookmakers. So that's certainly something that tends to work quite well, I find. Now let's have a look at some of the other results, because that strategy actually had quite a few winners yesterday. In fact, if we have a look here, you can see starting from the morning at Ruakaka in New Zealand, there was a winner that was paying $5.90. The next one at Ruakaka, Quartz Queen, paying $6.60. Another one here at Doomben, number 11, Glen Massey, paying $6. There's a winner at $7 there. We've got the Horrifying in race 2 at Flemington, paying $13. There's Just Do It from race 3, which we saw not long ago, paying $16.50. We've got Riccarton Park here, JBG, paying $9.40. A couple in a row here, Murray Bridge, Quite the Lass at $5.20. Riccarton Park, Harmonious there at $5.40, and I can probably find you more. I mean, obviously not every runner in the day one, you wouldn't expect it to, but with the odds that we're looking at there, you only need a few and you end up with a good day, and that day did end up being very good indeed. Now here we have a screenshot from the bot. So this was at about 5 in the afternoon yesterday, and you can see at that point in time the bot saw that it was up $412.54 on that strategy. It was slightly down on the on the high price strategy, on the high odds strategy. It hadn't placed any bets in the other strategies. But nonetheless, $412.54 up at that point in time. Now, there was another winner after that, and there were a couple more losses after that as well. In the end, if we go to the spreadsheet, the day ended up being $394.83 up, which is a very significant amount. And you can also see that that brought that series up to $184.43 profit, and the strategy overall over the course of the month or so there up to $235 into profit. So some very good numbers there. So let's go and see how those strategies have been performing overall and how they fit into the bot and some of the settings that take them into the bot and get the bot to place all of those bets. Now, if we have a look in the spreadsheet here, this is the current period starting on the 30th of June. You may notice that here I've got two strategies which have actually stopped in the middle of the month. Now, both of those I was actually quite fond of when I was last doing these videos. What I've found with them is that they tend to not like winter very much. In fact, if I look at the graphs for them, there's very clear drop-off in them once they get to winter. So this one here, the strategy 14, which is strong ratings overall, basically. We have a look at that one here. Now, this data in here is a little bit incomplete. There's a little bit of an issue getting some of the Betfair prediction prices for some of the races, so I don't have it all here. But nonetheless, you can see the number of positive days has dropped off. I checked this against a few other ratings measurements, and just to see, so replacing the Betfair prices, I wasn't getting the Betfair prediction prices. I wasn't getting with some of the other possible rankings, and saw very similar results. That just, you get to the start of June and it just disappears. So we'll have a look at the next strategy, which is strategy 16, maidens, which are first up but have a very good jockey-trainer combo. And you can see it here very much. You get to the start of June and things just fall off a cliff. You no longer have all of these strings of good days and some particularly high-value good days, but you do have all of the negatives and quite a few more negatives. It seems this system doesn't like winter very much. So I've paused both of those systems for now, and we'll see how they go in the spring. So I'll probably resume them somewhere in September. What I'll probably do with them is wait a little bit in September and see how the Analyser spreadsheet shows that they're performing, and then look and see what to do with them from there. If they start to perform well again, then I can open them up again and get them going in the bots. So I won't go too much into those, but let's have a look at some of the others. So that brings us to strategy 17, which is the short race high odds strategy that I was showing you in the first winner that we had in the video. And you can see this graph here in the analyzer. You can see that it's, well, if you were doing just level staking, so $1 per race, it would work. You can see you'd be over this period from February, if you're doing $1 per selection, it's $117.35 profit at level staking. So $1 per race over that period of time, it's not a lot, but this is where actually having another staking plan comes into play. Now, you can see here with this one, it's pretty clear there are only a handful of days that have winners. There's the occasional run, a bit of a long run between some of the winners, but because they're paying quite well when they do win, if you've got the appropriate staking for it, it can recover all of your losses and in fact make you a nice profit on top of it. So if we go back to the spreadsheet here, you can see this is what I've got for the current month, but let's go back just a little bit further to June, and you can see there were a couple positive days in there, but none of these series total days turned green because none of those actually got into profit, and the running total just kept getting redder and redder and redder. That staking system wasn't working. That was a $1 first day for the first 7 days, then $2 after that, and $3 after another 7 days. Didn't really work out. I took a copy of that spreadsheet, and with that amount of data, I was able to play around with how it would look with different staking plans, and I settled on this system here. Now, this is looking at the same June period, and I settled on a system of 1 unit first day, 2 units second day, 3 units third day, and then up from 50% after that until you reach a profit and then reset. So you can see here that profitable day in the middle of the month brought a profit for the series, which of course meant that the system overall was in profit, and again that one further down did much the same thing. So that worked well. Now, this strategy in particular, the short race high odds strategy, my thinking is that form doesn't really come into it as much with short races as it does with longer races. Now, form is still a factor, but with a short race you've got a better chance of an outsider winning the race. You can have a horse that just manages to bolt out of the gates and nothing catches it, or as we saw with that race earlier, you can have an outsider that has just a good run through, and because it is a shorter race, horses aren't as tired, there's that opportunity that they can just bolt through and make their way with a clever jockey and a clever horse, and there you go, a nice win. So I think that works quite well. Now let's have a look at the settings in the analyzer for this one, and this is strategy 17, and it's a very simple system. We're looking at a distance of 1,200 meters or less, and we're looking at odds of between $75 and $100. So how does that look in the bot? Well, pretty simple really. We've just got everything selected as our markets to bet. Any selection, doesn't matter. Minimum price, now I've actually got this set 65 to 120, not 75 to 100. Why is that? Because there is some variability in the prices that the spreadsheet gets compared to the live prices the bot gets. Now, I've got this placing those at 30 seconds before the race. There's always a little bit of movement of prices before a race, and that can be quite significant when you're looking at those higher odds. So I set 65 to 120 in the bot just to account for that variability, so that I'm not missing some of the ones that the spreadsheet's saying, because just because it's 75 to 100 at the time that the spreadsheet gets the data doesn't necessarily mean that it was at 30 seconds to the jump. It may have been just slightly under or just slightly over. So it's good to just have that little bit of leeway in the bot for that case. And I've got some other settings here. It doesn't matter how many runners are in the race. I want at least $5,000 already matched in the market before I place this bet, basically meaning that people are actually interested in the race, the odds actually make some sense in the race. I'm allowing harness, and if we don't get matched, I want to take the SP. It might not be quite the price I want, but it's better than nothing, right? Then over in the stats settings, well, it's simple. I've only got one filter here. It's the distance, 1,200 meters or less. So when you get to 30 seconds to the race, the bot will check, is this race 1,200 meters or less? If it is, okay, great. Any of the horses within this odds range? They are, great. Let's place a bet. Simple, really. It's quite nice. Nice and easy. The next strategy, if we have a look back in this spreadsheet here, our back 4 tab is strategy 18. This is the, well, it's not actually the big, this is the previous month. Strategy 18. Last start place, jockey trainer combo with a 90% plus win rate at that track and paying $5 plus. Now, let's go back to June, and well, this was a little bit of a surprise to me. I actually originally had this as needing it to be a big field as well. And you can see a lot of days it just didn't place a bet at all. I wasn't entirely sure why on that, and it turned out that the bot was counting runners correctly. The spreadsheet was sometimes considering a non-runner to be a runner, and therefore inflating the field size, meaning that it was picking more races, so making more selections, whereas the bot was being accurate about how many are actually in the race at the time, and well, yeah, difference in results, quite a significant difference in results. It got me thinking though, how would this look if I didn't have the big field as a requirement, and it actually looked good? So why bother with the complication of the field size? So in the working spreadsheet, I got results out of the spreadsheet and put them in here, and out of the Analyser spreadsheet, put them in here, and look to see how they would work with the staking plan. Yes, you can see over time a few profits along the way, and it was green by the end of that period. So done that again here, and with the staking system running at 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, then 45, 67, etc., etc., you can see it has been finding some decent days with winners and turning profits along the way. And you can see it's slowly turning slightly greener here. This most recent run, it had quite a lengthy run without making a profitable day, so it did dip down into the negative. But that big result for Saturday, it came out well ahead. And I was reasonably confident that it would do that eventually, because if I have a look in the Analyser spreadsheet, we go into here, on strategy 18, you can see there's quite a clearly defined pattern over the course of a number of months of some periods with some more negative results, some periods with some more positive results, then some more negative results, some more positive results, and it has just had that more negative run again, and it's just turned the corner, I think, yesterday. So you can see there's a pattern there. So I was quite confident that it would continue, and it was worth waiting out the negative run, and indeed it did, as you can see, and that's in the spreadsheet there, with that big day, it certainly showed that it was well worth waiting for. So if we have a look there, strategy 18, we have a look, that one has a few more factors in it. Now, runners, there has to be at least one runner in the race. Well, as I said, originally I had this set to have a minimum number of runners, which I forget what the number was. It required a big field. I think it might have been 15 runners or more. Not necessary anymore, as we discovered. The only ones that actually really matter here, because I'm already filtering out the zero lay odds in my imports of data, and of course one of the previous videos talked about how to sanitize the data before you import it to make the spreadsheet, Analyser spreadsheet, more accurate. The jockey trainer win percentage at the track, 90 plus. In the last race that the horse ran, it has to come first, second or third, and it needs to be paying $5 or more. So how do we implement that in the bot? Well, that's pretty simple. Go over to back 4 tab, and it's pretty much the same deal. We've got minimum price here set at $5. Otherwise, a lot of this looks pretty much the same. The stat settings, the jockey trainer rating, 90 plus, and last form between 1 and 3. It's quite a simple setup in that regards. So this brings us to the strategy that I was running previously but abandoned. This was a last start winner, second up with a win percentage for the horse between 25 and 40%. On the Analyser spreadsheet, my initial thoughts were this looks pretty good. But you can see here it has some very long runs with very little positive activity, and sometimes only tiny little bits of positive activity. And when you think about this here, it's only really looking good on this graph because it had a few big wins in a row here. Otherwise, most of the time it's going down, and it goes down for quite some time. Through the course of that section of June, it it had some good days, but again, they just didn't overcome the other days. I took it into the working spreadsheet here for testing, and it managed to occasionally get there, but the long periods of big bad runs they just got worse and worse, and I wasn't going to even consider continuing that. That one was not viable. So I moved on to a different system. Now, one thing I noticed with all of these strategies is that they had some harness racing activity, but not a lot. And I wanted to look at a strategy specifically for harness racing. So what I ended up coming up with is a strategy for harness racing, which looks at it coming in the top 2 in its last start. The speed rankings for the race, it needs to be in the top 2 there. The horse has to have had a 25% or better win rate and has to have odds of under $3. And you can see over the course of this month, through July and the start of August, it's had a number of days without many bets, so it's actually been a very low volume strategy, but it has made profit, and sometimes quite a few days of profit in a row. Now, off this 10-cent base, it's made $12.93, and it's very low volume, so I could probably consider making it a $1 base and probably bringing it in line with some of the other strategies in terms of profit and loss. But nonetheless, it is doing quite well. If we have a look at it in the analyzer, you can see here that it has a number of positive days. It has some negative ones. If you're doing flat staking on $1 per race or $1 per horse, it is a little bit topsy-turvy, and it's not making a lot. But for what I'm doing with this staking progression, what I'm really looking for is just a number of positive days. That's all I really need for this to work with the staking progression, and it certainly fits the bill. If we have a look over at the settings for this one, so this being strategy 20, it's reasonably straightforward, I suppose. We're looking for it to be a harness race. We want, for the last form, first or second. It has to be first or second in the speed ranks, a 25% or better strike rate, and it has to be $3 or less for the back odds, and I've narrowed it down to just Australia for the races. How we implement this one in the bot, now this is where it becomes a little bit slightly trickier, because if we have a look in the bot, there is no specific option here to select only harness racing. There's a tick box here to allow harness racing, but no specific way to filter out thoroughbred racing. So how do we go about that? Well, that's where things had to become just a little bit more clever in that. Now you can see basically similar settings. I've only got Australia ticked here, the price 1 to 3, otherwise it is basically the same deal. The stat settings are where I've got this set to pick only harness races. Now, it's not one of the available drop-downs. However, this one at the top here, the barrier 0. Interestingly, the data that comes out of the bot for harness racing, if I just go show market and pick a race that's coming up. So here we go, we've got a race coming up later at Redcliffe. And if we have a look, according to the barrier data, they're all barrier 0. I found this is consistent across all harness racing, that the stats data that comes into the bot, as far as it's concerned, all harness races don't have barriers. I guess technically that's true. They don't start in a barrier, but it lists them as being barrier 0, which is a handy way to filter down to just harness racing, because we can go into the stat settings. Barrier equals 0. We know that will be a harness race. I checked through a fair bit of data. I found that horse racing, thoroughbred horse racing, never does that. It always lists the actual barrier numbers. Harness racing always is 0 as the barrier, so that filters us down to harness racing. And again, we've got those same stats details from the spreadsheet, the Analyser spreadsheet. So horse speed rank between 1 and 2, horse win rate 25 plus, and last form, it has to have come first or second in its last race. Which brings us to the last strategy that I'm using at the moment, and this is a laying strategy rather than a backing strategy. And in this case, I'm laying horses that are maidens, ran second in their last start, are the top pick of Sky Racing's ratings, and they're odds on. I tend to find there's quite often those tend not to win. They're possibly the price is influencing the Sky Ratings a little bit, so they tend to not do so well. And you can see in the Analyser spreadsheet here, this graph showing that if you were just level staking these well over that period of time from February onwards, you would have made $17.27. Okay, that's not much, but it does tend to work well, and with the staking progression, it works well because, as you can see, it has a reasonable number of positive days, which manage to offset the negative days. We can see here, if I go back to June, we can see that it was having the positive days. Again, that staking progression wasn't enough to make it really work. If we look at June with the modified staking system, you can see it actually starts to go quite well, and through the end of June and all the way through July, it's been pretty consistent. It's another low volume system. It doesn't get a lot of bets, but you can see it has these positive days along the way, and it's actually doing reasonably well. Now it's just dipped down slightly into the negative at the moment, but we can see the pattern is fairly consistent, that it should turn back into positive territory again soon. So I'm pretty confident with that one and letting that one run. So those are the strategies I'm running at the moment, and I actually haven't shown you how to implement that one. So let me just show you those settings. We have a look here. This is, of course, being strategy 15. I've actually got it a little bit scattered through the spreadsheet, so it has to be the top of Sky Racing's ratings. The odds have to be between 1 and 2, so we're looking for it to be odds on. It has to be a maiden, so it's never won. And the other bit of 15 is down here. It has to have run second in its last start. And in the bot, that's pretty straightforward setup. Odds between 1 and 2. Australia and New Zealand allow harness, 5,000 minimum matched, all of the same things. And the stat settings: Sky rating, rank 1, horse win percentage 0, last form 2. Basically, what you've got in the Analyser spreadsheet, you can just put straight into the bot, and the bot does the work for you. So that's where I'm at with the moment. That's where I'm at with the moment. Interesting. I'm sure there's some words in that sentence that should be the other way around, but I can't think what order would make the sentence make more sense. So I'm quite happy with those results. Those strategies seem to be working well. I mean, are they the best strategies that you can find? Maybe not. I'm sure you can probably find other strategies as well. I'm certainly going to be looking at more strategies and seeing what I can find. And that's the great thing about the Analyser spreadsheet, is that you can take your ideas, get some historical data, and see how would this work? Would this work out? And then give it to the bot and let the bot do the hard work for you of actually placing the bets through the day so that you can do other things. In fact, the races on Saturday, I was, for a fair bit of the day, I was actually out with the motorbike and then at a local under-16s football match. So I checked in on the Betfair app every now and then, and almost every time I looked, the balance was going up. So, much easier than actually having to sit there and do all of the bet placement yourself through the day. to have the bot do it for you once you're happy with those strategy settings that you've got set. And if you have strategies that are working for you, that you are doing manually, well, certainly put them in the Analyser spreadsheet. If they look good there, feed them to the bot, and it should work quite well, I think. So let's see, what have we got in the links below? We've got links to the previous videos about the ANZ systems, but I also have links below to the ANZ Ratings and Analyser and the ANZ Bot, so that if you're interested and you want to automate some strategies, then you have the options right there. And until next time, I wish you good luck on the punt, and I'll see you again soon.